go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Carver Conservation Commission meeting of Wednesday, June 21st, 2023. Welcome, everyone. On our agenda, we will start at the beginning. The first order of business under discussions is a reorganization of the board. At this time, I will turn the board over to Gary Flaherty, our conservation agent, for him to conduct the nominating process and election process for the chairman of the committee.
Okay. I need a nomination for chairman.
I'd like to nominate Savory Moore.
I need a second.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. All right. Let's vote then. Ayes.
Aye. Aye.
Abstain.
You abstain. So, okay, ayes, no nays. Ayes have it, 3-0-1. So you're Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, next up, now that I am back in the driver's seat, I will take a nomination for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Dan Badger.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to nominate Dan, new name, Dan Badger. I'm trying to keep you on the down and low. Dan Badger as vice chair. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 And you're abstaining.
I abstain.
All right, so the vote is 3-0-1. Dan is our new vice chair.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome as welcome to the gavel. You share the gavel. The last thing we want to do in reorganization, we need to appoint somebody to be the Conservation Commission representative on the Community Preservation Committee. So can I have a nomination, please, for that position? We need a nomination. All right, I'll nominate Dave. I need a second.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to nominate Dave as our representative for the CPC. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you're it. Okay, thank you. That takes care of the reorganization for this coming year. Next up on our agenda is a discussion of 132 Plymouth Street.
I have to recuse myself from this one.
All right, that's fine.
Is anyone here for, come on up and sign in and sit at that table, please. Now, they're here, it's the plan with the, I gave you with the highlighter on it. They want to add an addition to their home, except the proposed addition is 90 feet from the wetland delineation at Cooper's Pond. So they need you folks to decide whether they can go with an RDA or, you know, it's pretty light. It's only 10 feet. It's lawn area, or if you wanted to do an NOI. So that's why they're here for that decision.
I see terrain gradients. I don't see the markings of how far away it is. I don't see the 60, oh, I see it now. It's not
90
colored.
feet.
Okay. This is an enclosed addition to your house?
Yes.
Just like an extra room or two? What kind of a foundation? Are you digging a cellar, or is it going to
We're
be
digging a full foundation.
a full foundation?
Yeah.
Full height cellar?
Yes.
Okay. How high off the ground is the first floor going to be? In other words, how deep is your cellar? If it's an 8 foot,
The foundation is going to be 8 feet,
right?
but the first floor, well, the only floor really, living space, is almost ground level. It's going to be, we have to dig, excuse me, behind the proposed addition, we're going to be putting a retaining wall because it's, the existing house, we want to match that floor, and it's
Okay.
kind of dug out behind it.
All right, so you're putting a retaining wall between the proposed addition and the shed?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. I have some pictures of the property here too, if you want to see them.
I'd like to see a picture of the, do you have a picture of your house from the water side?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see that, please.
I believe I do. If I don't, it's on my phone.
That'll give me a sense of how close to the ground level it is, as long,
Copy here together. Where I marked the boundaries, 165 to 90 that were often with the sewer fences. And I have some pictures also of the property.
okay. Great, thank you very much.
Alan,
No, Alan was not feeling well tonight.
Thank you.
yeah.
He texted me about 6:30, 6:15 or so. Okay, so that's that view.
Right here.
That's the degree on
Oh, at the height.
it, right?
Well, they'll see, well, of course, it doesn't show it.
And the addition is positioned where it is so that you have a continuous single front wall facing the pond?
Exactly.
Okay.
On the very first picture is the picture as you're driving up the driveway.
Yep, I see that.
You come up, you got to go up a hill to get there, like you
Okay.
do on the other side. The stakes that you see on the left-hand side, that's the back of our foundation.
Okay,
We're taking the same shape of the existing house, turning it sideways, moving the bedrooms out of the existing house, putting them in the addition, along with a bathroom. The house
Okay.
is,
all right, and these other photos are from your deck?
okay, yeah, they're from the deck looking down. I was trying to show the height difference between the pond and the
Okay.
house. It's about 30 feet in the 90 feet.
All right, on your drawing from your engineer, it seems to say proposed deck. Is that already there?
There is one there already. We're going to be changing it, just rebuilding it. It needs work.
Same dimension?
Yes,
Okay.
it
all right.
needs work.
So it's really a replacement deck,
Yeah.
it's not proposed
Yeah,
something
there
new?
is one there already.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something new that was even going to go closer
Right.
to the
It
pond.
needs some help.
Okay,
And like, there's 2 pictures, maybe 3 pictures from the deck.
yeah, I see that.
Showing how steep the property is. And then the third one from the deck, looking toward the wood line, you can see the stake along the side of the stone wall there. Mm-hmm. That's our far side of the house.
Okay, and is that retaining wall remaining there?
No, that's going to get lost in the digging of the foundation.
Okay. And you're going to backfill with soil up to the
Yes.
foundation?
Yep.
All right,
We'll have to do a little grading in front, because we're trying to do a walkout there.
yep. No, I see the rope on your path down to the water. That is
Yeah,
that is
that's the
steep.
staircase that you see on the engineer's plan.
Yep, that is steep. Okay.
Yeah, it is really steep.
This is a picture.
All right. Since this is within the 100 feet and within the 65, I'm of the opinion that because a variance isn't needed, it's just our permission, that probably an RDA should be okay.
I would think so. That's what I'd recommend.
Yeah. Does anybody have any comments, any discussion on this? Any questions of the property owners or?
No, the only thing I was gonna bring up was the proposed deck, but it's not in fact proposed, it's there.
Right,
So-
yeah, it's replacement deck. One last question. What is the orientation of the peak of the roof going to be?
It's going to be the opposite direction of the existing,
Right?
but no higher. It's the
Okay.
same width and same pitch,
Okay, are you going to continue the roof of the existing dwelling to V into?
To be into the the new
Okay,
roof, yes.
So
which is
everything's
going the
going to go
opposite
up to this.
direction, right.
Okay, all right, great.
So the water will shed to the back corner.
Yep.
To the front corner, and then,
Yep, that was my
obviously,
question.
gutters and runoff.
Okay, great. All right, so I will entertain a motion to just require an RDA on this as opposed to an NOI. Someone make that motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded to ask for just an RDA on the proposed addition to 132 Plymouth Street. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved 301. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have one question, though. And I'm not positive I should go this way, but I just want to know. When I had my plan reviewed, by the inspector, he rejected it because we had to go for a variance, which inadvertently we got already because of the form that you have, the last page. He
Okay.
had checked off that he had the conservation release in February. Well, yeah, this came in February, I got this. I hadn't talked to you,
Right, I never saw it.
And what is it? It's a conservation?
It's the building permit application.
Yeah.
you have a copy of the last one.
Oh, okay.
He submitted this form to me, saying that he needed things, which I gave him. And I just, if you see on the application forms, he has the conservation release and the Board of Health release. Which obviously, that wasn't the fact. But I did bring it to attention to him, and I talked to Gary the next day,
Right, yeah, those were the end of last week.
right, early in the morning, yep.
Yep.
And so I just,
Well, I would think that our decision tonight would supersede anything
It would,
that came before it.
exactly.
So I don't remember this property at all as
Same
being
here, I
a
never-
discussion.
No, because he even said we never talked about it.
we never talked about it because I saw this, that he had, quote unquote, had the conservation and Board of Health release. And we had never talked.
It is what it is, you know, you
Right.
still have to go.
I just wanted to mention
You
that,
still have to go for the.
not trying to go behind
Yeah.
anybody's back
No,
here.
no, thanks for bringing it to our
Yeah,
attention.
no, I mean, the RDA is a pretty easy thing to do. There's no, it's just coming back before.
And you have a nice plan already, so.
Yeah, so,
Do you
there's-
need an abutters list?
no, not for an NOI.
Okay.
I mean, not for an RDA.
Because I have it already, so, with me.
No,
No.
just,
In case you need it.
just the legal ad's the only thing that,
Okay,
and then, of course, you gotta pay the fee, town fee.
Right.
And there's no state fee. You still have to, send it to the state. And, just bring it in and get it in the next few days, and we can have you on for July 19th.
okay, all right, so July 19th, right?
That's the
That
next
was my
meeting.
next question. What's
Right,
the
and that's-
timeframe on this? Because
Or-
she's all packed up, the house is empty, we were ready to go.
Okay. Yeah, we meet every 2 weeks, so our next meeting is, we're not meeting on July 5th because it's the holiday week and
Right.
we don't have any other agenda items. So our next one will be 4 weeks from tonight.
Okay, so do I come and see Gary to get the paperwork? or-
Yeah, I'll help you.
Yeah.
I'll help you with it,
Okay,
okay?
And basically what we do, I mean, tonight we voted on allowing this to go forward as an RDA. The next
Right.
meeting, we'll vote on your plans.
okay.
And it's as simple as that. All right?
All right,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Next up.
Yeah, well, I've got meetings all day, so I'll have to be early next week.
Okay.
Call me.
I will. Thank you.
All right, next up, 38 Lakeview Street, plantings at the edge of Sanson Pond.
Okay. To refresh everyone's memory, you folks voted to have me write just a little violation letter to them for cutting some shrubbery, et cetera, right along Sampson Pond. That was September 15th, 2022. This spring, I called the owners April 10th of this year, and June 7th, and I left a voicemail, and I never got a response. So I want to see if you guys want to just let it go or do anything further, or,
My suggestion is that we send another letter.
okay,
And I would put in the letter something to the effect of, that it's incumbent upon them to reach out to you. And if that, in a certain, 4 weeks or 5 weeks' time, you haven't heard from them, we will send another letter asking them to come in front of the board.
okay. Sounds good.
All right?
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions, suggestions on that?
Sounds good.
I don't mean to have my ideas be the only ones. Okay, so that takes care of that. Next up, 10 Andrews Point Road, driveway. Please just make sure you sign in
Okay.
at the clipboard. Thank you.
All right. He wants to, he has an existing driveway, and within the footprint of the existing driveway and the paved area going down to the pond, he would like to do some replacement, so.
Yes, thank you for hearing me. I'm Dan Sullivan, that's my home, I've been there about 15 years. The driveway has been there since before we got there. It goes from the street, which was a dirt road originally, now the street is paved to our house. And it goes down to the pond. So underneath the bottom of the ramp, looks like a ramp, it's not really a boat ramp, it looks like that. There's concrete under the pavement. And further up the ramp where the garage is and a little bit water side of that, there's some irregular sinking that has occurred. Some of it occurred as a result of cuts that were done in the pavement. And they ran a new septic tank before we moved into the house. Part of the deal was we had to get a new tank, a whole new system to comply with Title V. So that was all done. I'm not sure if they compacted it properly or not, the soil under the pavement, but there's been some sinking, there's been puddling right along. We've been thinking about this for a long time. It took 2 years for me to get an estimate from someone to work on the driveway. I'm not sure if it was because they couldn't get help or because they didn't want to deal with anything near the water, which, conservation or whatever. No one really ever admitted to me. I've had all kinds of excuses. But I now have an estimate from a qualified contractor. I met with Gary on this twice to kind of get some direction where to go and how to proceed, because I don't know really the whole format here. So this is a summary of what I would propose to do. There's a diagram is near the end. I'm sorry, it's in the beginning, second page. The hash marked area with the cross lines are where we'd like to take out, remove the asphalt and level it out underneath and pack it down and then replace it with new asphalt. The rest of the driveway, we would just like to resurface it. Unfortunately, in order to allow it to drain, I'd have to go to about 63 feet from the water. I've marked on this second drawing where the 100-foot marker is and where the 63-foot marker is, so you can see where it is. It doesn't really slope down until you get to 63 feet. So I could do this other work on the 100-foot side and do all of that, and the water still wouldn't go anywhere because it's less than or lower than the grade on the water side of that. So I've made some notes. We're not expecting or hoping to increase any impervious surfaces. We're going to keep the same perimeter.
We wouldn't move any, alter or destruct any of the wetlands. I'd like to do the work. It's a problem for a couple of reasons. One is the water just collects there, it gets into the garage, and makes a mess in the garage. The other is in the winter, it just turns into ice, and the ice grows. It's not a little ice, it's a little ice, the next storm it's more ice, and then it's more ice. So the ice gets under the garage door and all that. So,
When you say that you want to regrade this, are you trying to expand the grade so that this water goes down into the pond?
yep. It was going that way eventually, I mean, at some point. So I'm trying to replicate what was there before things started to sink. There's not much grade to begin with. A lot of the water cycles off to the, as you look up the driveway from the pond, it goes off to the right, over toward the property line. It's pretty spongy over there, with pine needles and, it's like mulch, but it's not mulch, it's just the dead pine needles and that kind of thing.
This is an overhead view of where it is at Sampson, so to orient yourself with where this is. I'm familiar with your house. I see it from my house.
Oh,
I called in a fire at your house 4 years ago.
The shed. So did everybody else.
oh, it's good. We're watching out for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, there were boats. There were boats out in the lake, people watching it. Like 4th of July. I'll open it to any comments from board members.
So it's already paved. but
Yes.
I hate to see paving trucks go down that close to the water with oil and all that stuff. You know, that would be my only concern here, really. I don't know.
All right.
If there's some way they could use different material down there or something, I don't know.
Well, it's already paved.
Yeah, it's already paved, so. So I don't know what the,
Curtis, any questions, concerns?
So you're just gonna level, like grade out the part that you're cutting out and.
Right,
And, repave over it and.
right. If I'm told that if I repave over it, it's not gonna work, because it's gonna continue to sink. Whatever's the material underneath there, it's probably sand, and it's a flat spot, and it needs to be leveled out. So he doesn't wanna guarantee the surface there, up in front of the garage, unless he knows what's under it.
It's hard to tell from the pictures, but does it at least does the grade at least pitch away from the garage? But ultimately just sometimes collects?
Not by much. It does mostly, but there's an area, if you look at the front of the garage, right here, there's an
Yep.
area, this is concrete underneath like the apron to the garage,
Yeah.
right in front of the doors, and then it starts to sink right after that. So I think if we brought that up, it doesn't have to be brought up a lot.
Or only reason I was asking is I know, because it would be technically outside the 100 if some type of dry well grate was just put in front of the garage. And then it's really outside our purview.
Yeah, I
Just a
thought about putting in some sort of like a French drain or something like that. I don't even know what a French drain is, but people have mentioned
Yep.
it to me. Well, I'm trying to be level. I'm not sure that, I would know how big it should be, or how it would work, or if it wouldn't work at all. It would just be spinning my wheels.
Again, it's, we can't really tell you what to do with things that are outside our purview, but, I just sort of lost my breath when I saw the estimate on this thing in the first place, and so I was just thinking you might consider talking to a general contractor, because I can think of 3 or 4 different ways that this issue could be mitigated without having to do something as invasive as you're looking at. And I'm not even talking about just from the conservation impact of things, I'm talking from your bank account side of things too. And also from an aesthetic standpoint, there are some other ways of dealing with drainage. And that's really what we're talking about, right in that initial pocket in front of the garage. But again, not really my place or our place to direct you in that regard.
There's another
Can I ask
pocket.
you a question?
Absolutely,
You have 2 downspouts shown in that picture.
yes.
Do those both, when it rains, do those both pour onto the asphalt?
They're supposed to, but the rain comes right off the roof. We have gutter guards on there, and they don't work.
Okay.
So the water, not much water makes it to the drain. I
Is
thought
it-
about trying to divert the drain. There's a V on the top of the roof. The ridge line runs parallel. Well, it goes in 2 different directions, but half of the water goes behind the garage and half of it comes either to one side or the other. And some of that ends up in the driveway. But
Because Dan's suggestion about dry wells, you could redirect, because, if those are working at all, they're dumping quite a bit of water onto your asphalt, making, creating the puddle. So if you could put that water into dry wells, that would alleviate probably a lot of your puddling.
Yeah, but not this puddle.
there's another
There's a
puddle
puddle.
over here that doesn't have anything to do with it.
Right, no, but I'm just talking
Yeah.
about that
Yeah.
one right there, though. That might help you out.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, just so I understand it correctly, this hatched area, the lined area, that's the
Yes.
area you're gonna dig up?
Well, that's what we
Redo.
propose to dig up. I'm not sure.
Okay, I
what
didn't, I
I'm
may have
allowed to do.
misunderstood. And you're gonna repave the whole thing,
Correct.
put another layer on top of it, basically, right?
Resurface, right,
The area going from
right,
63 down to the pond,
right. That would have a new base coat also.
the new base coat?
Yeah, I have the estimate
Okay,
in the last page, and he's included that, so they have a base coat under that, so.
what's that mean,
Well, if
A
we
binder.
if we
Seal coat.
resurface. the
like a
rest-
seal coat on the bottom?
Yeah.
No, if we resurface the rest of the driveway, there's already a coat of asphalt underneath.
Right,
If we put asphalt on the dirt and material he puts there, and there's no base coat of asphalt, it's not gonna stand up as well, that's what I'm told.
It's a larger aggregate.
oh, God,
They
gotcha.
put that down first, and then they put a finish.
So you're gonna do that all the way down to the pond too, though?
No,
Oh.
the
Just in
top
this-
coat, the
just-
top coat would go
Oh,
down.
just the top of that, that
Yes,
was my
right.
question, okay, sorry, my.
All right, I have a few questions. Looking at the photo that shows the driveway going down towards the pond that has the water in it,
Yep.
puddle. On the left, I see cobblestones.
Right,
Are they mortared in place, or are they just positioned with dirt in between them?
no, they're mortared in.
They're mortared in place. All right. On the right side, there is there are more rocks and an asphalt berm that separates the driveway from the lawn.
Right.
On the other side of the steps, going down towards the lake, on both sides of the driveway,
On-
is,
Just
On
grass.
this side of the
It's just
driveway,
grass.
there's a poured concrete wall about 6 to 8 inches high. On the other side of the driveway, there's a cinder block wall. These are all ancient, they were here for who knows how long. A cinder block wall that goes down about 20 feet. I didn't mark that out, I didn't know that that might be an issue, but that's a big hill.
yeah, I'm familiar with it,
Okay.
obviously.
Okay.
My question is, and my concern really is that all the water that is collecting in the area that I assume you park your cars
Right.
is now going to be funneled into the lake.
When it gets high enough, if it gets higher than this, it goes there anyway. It already
Right.
goes there.
But you're going to grade it so it goes there all the time instead of some of it evaporating.
Well, if I have 5 gallons here, it's gonna stay there until the sun dries it out.
Okay.
If I repair it, it may be 6, 7 gallons, I don't know how much it is, but
No, the reason I asked the questions I did, I was wondering if there was the ability to crown it so that the water runs off to the sides instead of straight down to the pond. But since on either side, there are impervious surfaces that aren't going to allow that water to go into the ground, then that wouldn't be a viable alternative. I'm a little reticent to, that's a pretty big paved area in front of your garage.
Back to the different alternative drainage ideas I was talking about, one of the other reason for that is we create some natural filtration of water back to, it's eventually gonna work its way back down the pond, but not before about, 100,
Right.
100 feet of soil
Sand.
and
And
sand.
get some treatment.
Yeah,
Right, yeah, I mean, we're looking at this as a 3-car garage or a 3-bay garage. I don't know how many cars are using
it's
it, but.
2.5, like.
2.5, okay.
Yeah.
Hard to tell, but okay. It just seems to me to be a relatively large area that could become a catch-all for contaminants. And I'm,
How about where he wants to rip it up and regrade it? How about something like pervious pavement in that area? Would that,
that would be an alternative.
you know, I mean, it's one thing in a parking lot, but in a home, it's a good alternative.
That would be something I would.
And maybe what he could do is, if you have the gumption to do it in a few bucks, you could talk to an engineer. And where Savory's saying right here, along where you have those cobblestone rocks, maybe you could loosen some of that up, so he said crown it, some of that rainwater, the stormwater drainage could creep between the cracks, and you get some treatment like Dan
Yeah,
said.
and
So
then
there's
this-
a bunch of little things you could do.
The soil then acts as a filter, so that water's not going, straight down into the water, picking up whatever it picked up in front of the garage. So,
Well, that garden is higher, that's a garden, it's a perennial garden, it's probably 8 to 15 inches higher than the driveway, it's part of the hill.
Yeah.
right, but still, if those cobblestones did not have mortar between them, that would offer enough space for the water to drain into there and go underneath your driveway, in effect, and underneath your garden. Which is why I asked the question if it
Well,
was,
I can,
Is your soil sandy in your yard?
everything's sandy.
yeah,
Well, I have to ask.
yes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's gonna accept a lot of water.
Right.
Right, so what I would like to ask you to do is to look at two alternatives. I like the alternative that the conservation agent offered up of maybe putting in pervious asphalt in the area that you're going to remove.
I don't know what that is.
All right, when they put down binder and everything, it's nice and tight? Okay, what this is, it has voids in it, has holes in it, so water can percolate through it. And it's nice in the winter because, believe it or not, if you have a small amount of ice or anything, it melts real fast, so you don't have to use as much salt or anything.
And you could probably get away without regrading. You could probably just tear up the pavement that you have now and put in impervious pavement, and those puddles would disappear underneath.
Because the water wicks down into the ground below. and you
Right,
have a
right now,
sandy
right now
yard.
you have something that water can't get through. With impervious pavement, the water would go through there and would be filtered through there. So that's one alternative I'd like you to look at. The second, and that would probably be the one I would prefer. The second alternative is to see what you could do along those cobblestones in creating voids between them and then crowning your driveway so the water runs off.
I can do the cobblestones for sure.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But
all
I would look into the impervious first, because that may save you some money in not having to regrade.
Yeah.
You would just have to,
It is a little more expensive than regular asphalt.
but you wouldn't need to regrade. You could pick
Right.
up what you had and leave the grade the way it is, and then just put the new pavement on. So I'd like you to investigate that first, and then The second would be to crown the driveway, at least in that 63 feet, so that any water that is running down the hill, if you do end up regrading, goes off to the side and goes into the soil there, as opposed to basically being in a tunnel all the way to the water's edge. Only because it's right in front of your garage. You're pulling all that water from in front of your base of your garage. And, you know, even if you park your car there for an hour, something's going to drip out of the bottom, and it's going to be there. So I'd like you to look at those alternatives and come back to us, if you wouldn't mind.
Or you could sort of hybridize it and maybe just put impervious pavement from 63 to 100. Maybe the water would be enough to sink in on the way, you know what I mean? Would that work?
Yeah, but that wouldn't get rid of the puddles in front of the garage.
No, right.
So,
Okay.
I mean, I think
Impervious.
what they're trying to get rid of is
Right,
the
right.
standing water and
No,
the
I
ice.
was thinking of putting a dry well in also in there. Okay, you're right.
Right, well, drywall's expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
That starts getting into some money. I think the impervious pavement idea is a good one. I think that will solve your puddle problems, and will keep the water away from going directly into the pond. It may seep through, going through the sand, but that will filter it out, filter some of the contaminants. So I would like you to go back to your
So I'm gonna look into pervious pavement.
pervious.
Pervious, okay.
Pervious.
Okay.
Pervious?
Pervious, yeah, it lets water through instead of just
Yeah,
making
okay.
puddles.
All right?
Any other questions for me?
No, I don't think so. Does anyone else have any other questions? No?
Okay, thank you all very much.
Good luck.
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, appreciate it. All right, next up, split rail fence as a buffer marker. And that is that for,
That's for your discussion, because you said you wanted to bring it up along the
That's-
65-foot instead of just along with our little appliques, our little placards.
oh, right. Okay. It would be a necessary bylaw change, which wouldn't happen until next spring. But I just want to have a discussion of, we've run into situations recently where people are, as space gets tighter, people are trying to encroach more and more into the 65-foot buffer zone. And we put the signs up, and, they're every 50 feet. And that gives 49 feet between the two signs where people can walk and cut and do things. So what we talked about at one of our previous meetings was to put in a requirement when we issue a variance within the 65 feet that we require a split rail fence to go the length of the area that the variance has been granted towards.
I think it's a good idea because more and more, like you said, things are getting closer and closer to these 65-foot buffer. I think it's more permanent and it's more visible.
And it's not a giant expense.
It's not a huge.
It's a few
split rail's
bucks, but
cheap, relatively cheap
Yeah.
stuff to put in. I mean, I don't know how long, it probably won't last 20 years maybe, but, maybe 30, I don't know. I have a split rail fence that's probably 30, 40 years old, so, I don't
Well,
know.
nothing lasts forever. That's
Right,
not a bad
right.
time frame.
Right.
But if it lasts for 20 years and it protects
great.
what's behind it, by the time that fence is gone, what's behind it's going to
It's
be
gonna be
pretty,
like thick bushes or
yeah,
whatever.
it's going to be pretty well established anyway.
So it'll be a natural fence.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there are some properties I could see that being actually an expensive thing, though. I think it's a good idea,
These would be a newer property. though, right?
newer properties.
Right.
These would be on anything that comes before us. It would have to go to town meeting as a bylaw change, and it wouldn't take effect until the bylaw change was approved. Actually, it could retro if
We couldn't make it as a special condition on an order of conditions.
that might be a question for KP Law.
All right,
I don't
I'll
know
ask
the answer
them.
to that.
Because
You could do it on a case-by-case basis.
that's what I'm saying, And then, for now, and then we could put it, as a bylaw change down the road. I'll ask them. I'll send an email out.
Right, I would try to avoid a case-by-case
Yeah.
on anything.
Yeah.
If we're going to do it for one, we got to do it
I
for all.
got you.
So,
I'll ask them.
yeah, just see if you can get it. I mean, if we can do that as part of the order of conditions, that would be fine. And do it from now until town meeting next year.
Right,
And
sure.
then change our bylaws under variance where it says that you put out the signs. It also puts that we do a split rail fence.
Okay.
Is that, yeah,
The other side of it too, what's motivating us to even look at this is making sure people are behaving themselves, right?
Yes.
Basically.
So, with that being said, what about the idea of just like any, just like having a follow-up, a scheduled follow-up visit 6 months or a year to the day of completion of a project, to just have them be on the list of site visits. But in the order of conditions, have some type of assigned penalty for not following suit, because you're not gonna be able to get away with it this time, because we're gonna come check in 12, 18 months. And there'd be an assigned fine or something like that in the writing too. The only reason I say this is because there are some properties where I could see some people really pushing back, and especially if this goes to town meeting, people pushing back on any kind of expense that, might
Well-
add up, especially on bigger pieces of property. I'm just thinking out loud. That's what we're doing.
I know, there are two things I want to say about that. First of all, while I understand your idea of going back and checking on it every 12 months or 18 monts,
It's a
human,
pain for us, I know.
human nature is
But-
that stops happening. It just does.
Oh.
And it becomes more clerical of keeping track of that and adding to our site visits.
Sure.
I just think that it's, well, it would be great if we had someone who did that.
Is there not a fence inspection?
There's a
Person?
a fence minder, I think
Yeah.
it's called.
Put it on there, just, we can just have
Right,
add
but
to their
that-
list.
Right, but that would require the fence to be there, which is contrary to what I think you're saying.
Yeah.
So, the second thing is that I can't think offhand of anything that has come before us that really would have a lot of fencing to it. And for the most part, the things that we're seeing are new developments that are put forth by builders as opposed to property owners who are building their own home. So that cost is just going to be added to the cost of the new home when a buyer comes. So I wouldn't worry about the cost factor in this if it's going to protect that intrusion into the 65 feet.
Yeah, no, I see that. Yeah, I guess the only reason I'm always kind of, looking for a mechanism for, because there have been, as you know, there have been projects that we've approved that you could go this far, and then always there's an expansion or an addition or an whoopsie daisy after the fact, and then we don't really have the teeth to do anything about it.
And yes, and we generally find those things out by accident.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
Hence my suggestion of having some token check-in period.
Well, that might be something else we can put we can ask if we can put in the order of conditions.
For site checks?
For continuing site checks
Okay.
after a period of time, like at 6 months and a year, or at 1 year and 2 years.
Okay.
I mean, could you just do this just for new houses, like?
We would probably have to do it for anything we issued a variance on.
Anything for variance.
For variances.
Yeah, because we're only going to require the fence on anything that's within the 65. Anything we require a variance on will be
Anything that has a variance, so let's say it's 100, it's not,
100, no, because we don't
care.
we like them to have the signs, but at 100, they're probably not going to encroach into the 65. So this is
so
more.
any sort of approach, even putting a well in? will you do-
No, not a well, because wells are generally, they have a single path back and out and that overgrow during the course of.
So any sort of encroachment as in like the structure? or
Yeah, we've
driveway?
seen, for instance, up off High Street where they're building, where they've had the lawn go into the 65 feet. And maybe there's a 50-foot stretch where they've expanded the lawn into the 65. And we asked them to put up signs, but that's still an inviting woods for kids to go play in.
Gotcha.
If there's a fence there, that's a visual reminder that this is as far as you can go. It may not work as well, but I think it'll work better than the signs.
I agree.
So, and if the fence is there, it's going to be easier for us, if we do the inspection, to see if there's disturbance on the other side of that fence.
Yeah, because when you put the signs up, they're on like,
Yeah,
not on are they on poles or not? We put-
poles or trees.
Or trees, so they might not be
Sometimes.
regularly,
Yeah.
it might not be a regular line, so.
Yeah.
I got you.
Okay. So, anybody else with any other questions, suggestions? So Gary will look into, a couple of things that we can do short-term, and then we can work on a bylaw change for next spring. Okay? Next up, 44 Lakeview. Maintenance and maintenance payment. As we all know, the town did find our maintenance fee, our maintenance fund, and I know that in the past, Dan, you've been very good in being able to barter or work for, gain some kind of access to a machine to cut the lawn at 44 Lakeview. It has not been done this year.
Nope.
And what I would like to do tonight is I would like us to talk about and have a vote on putting out bids to hire a landscaping company to come in and we'll give them a contract for the summer. It doesn't have to be every 2 weeks. It doesn't have to be manicured lawn, but to come in once a month and just, trim it down to 4 or 6 inches. And then we can go out to local landscape companies and ask them to do an RFP. Or we could do an RFP and they could do a proposal of what they would charge. And I don't think we'd have any problem using the maintenance fee. That's what it's for, to come in and have that.
So how much money do we have in that account? Do we have?
I believe the last time we looked, it was around $47,000.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a
So
bit.
that'd be
And,
the
you
easiest-
know,
that'd be the easiest thing to do than trying to hire somebody here.
It is. I mean,
individually,
volunteer
right?
work is great, and Dan, thank you for you, and
Right.
I guess, was it Adam Clear that helped you?
Yep.
Yep. So, I mean, that was great that it was got done, but I think that now that we know we have
Money
maintenance funds,
pay for it,
that
right.
at least for Lakeview, because it's so front and center,
Right.
that we should get someone in there to keep an eye on it. So I'll take a motion to create an RFP for a landscape company to come in and cut.
So moved.
All right, second. All right, motion by Dan, seconded by Dave. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, it's approved 4-0.
Sweet. I can go volunteer somewhere else now.
The next thing under this, and then you're up, Sarah.
Take your time.
Okay. I know this is all interesting to you.
Yes.
The property, when the Council on Aging, when the town of Carver bought the property on the Marcus Atwood House to create the Council on Aging in the town beach, because that was abutting our current 44 Lakeview property, in the deed was placed a restriction that a chain link fence had to be between the properties because it delineated public property from private property. So that was brought to the attention of people in town hall because in order to make these two properties work well together, that fence really should be gone. So we had town council look up the deed, and the restriction on the fence was for 30 years. And the deed was more than 30 years ago. So the restriction to have the fence has expired. So we don't need to worry about it anymore. So what we have here is from the town of Carver, a release of the restriction that we need to sign to put into the record, meaning that we acknowledge that as owners of 44 Lakeview, that we no longer, that based on the deed that's there, the fence is no longer necessary. So I will entertain a motion before we sign this to accept it.
Make a motion.
All right?
Second.
Second, all right. Curtis made the motion. David seconded it. So there's a motion on the table to approve and sign the release of the restriction for 44 Lakeview Street. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it is approved 4-0. So I'll pass this around and you can sign it, please. Okay.
So do we use our maintenance money to take the fence out, or is the town gonna do that? Or how's that gonna work? I'm just curious.
I don't know the answer to that yet, and I think that the answer will come as more work is done in trying to incorporate the pickleball courts that were approved at town meeting. Fuss and O'Neill is working on a sort of a general plan for that, the town beach, the pickleball courts, and the parking areas. And there is the, thank you. There is the potential for parking along that fence line if that fence is removed. It won't, the parking won't encroach into the 44 Lakeview, but it can get closer to the fence. And the fence really needs to be gone so that the grading can be done for that
So we're
parking.
probably incorporated in that.
Yes, and that's happening. There was a stormwater management study that was being done on the state. I think the state gave grant money for each town in Massachusetts to identify 5 areas where they wanted to investigate stormwater. That was one of them. That's been completed. So now we're starting to move forward. The Recreation Committee and the CPC is starting to move forward with the pickleball with the town. So I think that the answer of removing the fence will be part of that equation.
Yeah, good.
Obviously, I would rather that the town take care of it, but.
Yeah, really.
But when we get an answer, we'll bring it back up. Okay, so we're done with that. Let's see what's next. I think it's Ms. Stearns. The continued public hearing at 134 Main Street has been continued again until the 19th of July, 4 weeks from tonight. New public hearing, 0 South Meadow Road, AOOC Department, DEP file number SE126553. This is an amending order of conditions. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Carver Wetlands Protection Bylaw, citation 9.2, that a public hearing will be held at 7:00 p.m. on Wednesday, June 21st, 2023, in meeting room number 1 at the Carver Town Hall, to hear the request by Weathervane at Patriot Pines LLC, the applicant, to amend an order of conditions, DEP file SE126553. The applicant has incorporated additional land in the rear of the project where minor grading is proposed within the 100-foot buffer zone to resource areas. Patriot Pines, the proposed H55+ townhouse project, is located at 0 South Meadow Road, Assessor's Map 112, Block 1, Lots 5E, 5I, 5J, 5K, 5L, 5M, N, P, Q, and Block 3, Lot 88A, as well as a portion of Map 107, Block 1, Lot 4A, in Carver, Massachusetts. All interested parties are invited to attend. Hi.
Hello, thank you. Good evening, Sarah Stearns with Beals and Thomas for the record, representing Weathervane at Patriot Pines LLC. As the chair just read into the record, we're here to request an amendment to the order of conditions that was issued in 2017, amended, extended, all of the below. And really, this is just kind of a follow-up to what we talked about last October informally, where the landowner, which is Weathervanes at Patriot Pines LLC, the parent company is Bristol Brothers Construction, which we've met and has been working on the site since taking it over from the original owner. In that time has added about 9 acres of land in the rear part of the property. And there's a very small amount of grading proposed within the 100-foot buffer zone, not the 65-foot no-build zone, but the 100-foot buffer zone at the very rear of the property here. So it's a minor amount of work, but we, thought we would just take the opportunity to update the commission so that you have the current plan on file and all the correct ownership, everything just sort of updated so you've got all the current information. The exhibit that I have up and that I just handed out is sort of an amalgam of what we've talked about over the past few years out here. And this was the best way we could think to represent it. The plan set is very hard to follow because this is such a linear site. It's chopped up in such a way that it's hard to get everything on one page. So using the aerial photo with the plan overlaid gets everything in one place. And basically, it shows the entirety of the property with the new land added in. The light blue is just sort of the footprint of the original project. And what is shown schematically is the final approved version. We went through the modification process recently with the planning board to modify the special permit and site plan and just update this so that it incorporates the new property at the rear and the modified layout to access the additional homes. So a full stormwater management report was done and reviewed by Fuss and O'Neill through the planning board review process, and as well as the fire department in terms of access. So all of the comments were incorporated into this design that you see before you. And again, it's just a modification of what was already approved. This is a very dry site, not a lot of resource areas out there. And most of the resource areas are actually off-site where we are doing some work in the buffer zone there too. So it's actually not a lot going on wetland or jurisdictional wetland resource areas wise, but just again, so that the commission has the most up-to-date plan when the phases are complete, and we come back to you for a certificate of compliance request, you've got the current information and all the up-to-date plans in the file. So we just wanted to take the opportunity to do that now that we've got planning board sign off and the new plan in place.
Is that a stormwater recovery pond in the north corner?
In the rear of the
Yeah.
property? Yeah, it's an infiltration basin.
Okay, and that's part of the grading?
It's part of the stormwater design, yeah. And that's phase 3. So if you remember way back when, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So I'm not sure when phase 3 will be under construction. If you've driven by there, you can see that phase 1 is underway, but it's a slow process.
Yes.
So it may be, we may be back to request an extension before they even get to
Current
phase 3.
extension goes into 2024.
Right.
Okay.
So we'll probably be back before they're working back there. But again, it's really just to give you the updated information. This is a public hearing, so we did send out abutter notifications to the 100-foot property line, so.
And Savory, down here in the other corner, there's
Yep.
another infiltration basin.
Right, but that's
down.
not within the 100.
Yeah, some of it is. A little bit on the edges,
Oh, okay.
just so you're aware of it.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
No, I
it's-
mean, the other one, the 100 goes right through
Yeah.
the north
And the-
part of it, but,
The rectangular, that's some sort of leaching field? Next to the north?
Are you talking up here on this
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah,
plan?
yeah.
Yes, yep. There's a, the way we did the wastewater for this is by phase. So there are 3 shared systems. So that's the sort of back corner of that leaching field.
all I remember from 2017 is the smallest vernal pool that I ever saw, and now it's gone.
Yes, if you remember, the commission issued a determination on that.
Yes, I do remember
Deeming it non-jurisdictional.
But I still miss that thing. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on this? Any concerns?
Well, I know it's not a phase 3 thing, but the leaching fields, there's any wiggle room for cheating them in?
Not a lot of room out there. There's a fairly significant grade change. So if I remember correctly, we've moved them around a number of times, and through the peer review with Fuss and O'Neill, this was deemed the best location.
The least of the evils.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and they're,
So that one, what I was asking about, so is a large grade change there, and that's why the leach field's pushed up to the 65?
Yeah, some of those units will be a walkout. I mean, you can tell where those bogs are in the
Yeah,
back
sort
there,
of.
that's where it starts to slope down. So just trying to make the best use of that area without having to import material.
Right.
I'm trying to find the right page to match up with the leaching fields, but it almost seems like the leaching fields are kind of almost getting into the bog.
Into the bog?
Well, into this, into it,
There's a wetlands there.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah.
yeah, right in there.
Yeah, so the bog is down here.
Okay.
At a significantly lower elevation. It's obviously hard to tell on
Yeah, yeah.
an aerial, but yeah, this is the wood line. So we
Okay.
are just, working up to that area. And again, that could end up being the reserve. So, I'm not,
4.3 shows the leaching area that Dave was
It shows the grading.
indicating with the
Okay,
grading.
Thank you.
I have the full size set in if you wanna, if you can't.
No, no, this is
Okay,
fine.
Just so you know it's there.
oh yeah, it's here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
My only concern would be if we could just pull that leach field up a little bit and then get it out of the 100-foot. I mean, is that possible, or is that something that can't be done?
So, thank
Sorry.
you. So at this point, I mean, the plans have been engineered and
I
approved.
can do this, so. if you
Yeah, I'll
interrupt a
just
little.
put it down here, it's fine. It's just so heavy.
So that's already set, it's already done?
Well, I mean, we're in your jurisdiction and here to talk about that, certainly.
It's been approved, this has been previously approved of where that leaching field is, right?
By the planning board.
By the planning
By the
board,
planning
yes,
board,
but this is an opportunity for you to discuss it. And, this, typically it's a footprint, so, perhaps we go out and do test pits out there and it ends up being, somewhere in that vicinity.
You do
but
have wiggle room.
There
Right.
will be some leeway, but
Right.
I mean, this is where it's
This is where you guys
proposed.
would like to put it.
Yes, and this is, based on setbacks from the buildings, the road, everything surrounding it, wells, there's a lot of different factors that went into that design.
I think Dave and I were just kind of wondering what the wiggle waggle calculus is.
Yeah,
Because I see
on
there's a
that.
well there
So-
over,
right. So,
But-
yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering. Is there any wiggle waggle there? We could get it out of there.
I mean, I can discuss it with our engineer, but, as I said, we'll probably end up being back before the commission to request an extension before this portion of the project is constructed, and maybe we'll have more information by then after phase one is complete. Again, it will just sort of come down to how everything lays out specifically. This is our best layout based on what we discussed with the town's peer review engineer and their review and our initial test pits.
Is that whole area back there where that leach field is that expected to be like meadow lawn? So
Yeah.
it looks like your
Yeah.
tree line is right along the property line.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep. As it stands right now, I know it's not specifically in the buffer zone, but just as an FYI, in the center of that cul-de-sac is this is a proposed pond, just as a added feature. So there'll be some water out here, despite how dry it is.
Okay,
Got your vernal pool, right?
Yeah,
I got it back.
there you go.
Right.
Bigger and better than before.
Okay. And here's the south one, the east-west one. And this abuts the redevelopment authority property that is slated to become conservation land.
Yes.
Okay. That's our triangle on the left-hand side. You can see the cul-de-sac on Wade Street.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
So that triangle in the lower left corner of foliage is the current RDA property that we're going to be working on.
Has that been formalized?
No, and it's going to be as part of the topics not reasonably anticipated,
Oh,
because we just got some information on
Stick
that.
around.
yeah,
So,
maybe
yeah.
I'll hang out.
Yeah, it'll be quick. It'll be quick. So this is an amended order of conditions, so if we want more information, I don't know when we're going to get it because of the wiggle room. You know, they're not going to know until you do more pits, right? So, and
I mean, I'm coming in late on this, so I don't.
Right.
Right, so I don't know.
well, I mean, everybody is because this wasn't part of the original
Right, oh, I
plan.
got you.
So, but I mean, it's going to be meadow, it's going to be grown over. You're not going to see these things.
Right, it'll be open space.
Yeah, it's not worried about it, it's just the closeness of the leaching field to the wetlands is gonna, you know, leachate is gonna go into the wetlands eventually, you know, that's the issue, really. I mean, it's only, 65 feet away from the wetlands, you know. That's not a lot of room. I mean, you have to be farther away with a well, right? That's why you're 150 feet away from a well, because the leachate will go into the well, right? I mean,
Well, the infrastructure of the wastewater system is outside of the buffer zone. It's just the end corner of the leaching field. So
Right.
it's just
So it's
the,
probably just be grading.
yeah, I mean, it's just going to be
you're saying that.
open area. It's going to be grass because.
Yeah, I understand on the surface, but I'm talking about underground, there's gonna be pipes running out, right, with leachate go in them, right?
Well,
That's
I
gonna-
mean, leachate, it's wastewater. It's not anything
Well, yeah,
other than
but
that.
it can potentially have lots
Well,
of stuff in it.
Well, the treatment is here, under the road. So that's where,
And it's under the-
that's
The
where
tank.
Oh, the septic
That's
tank.
where the septic system
That
is.
just holds the salt.
This is just, right,
Right.
correct. So this is just, where the water settles.
Right, so the water that goes out is gonna be 65 feet to the wetland, that's gonna have all kinds of solvents and all kinds of stuff in it, right?
Well-
But it's gonna only be 65 feet from a wetlands, right? Underground, right? That was
65 feet from the wetlands, you mean?
65 feet from the wetlands, right. That's, I'm not just,
Right, I mean,
yeah, it's just a concern, I don't know.
sure.
Yeah.
The idea was to keep all infrastructure outside of the jurisdictional area, outside of the
Right.
buffer zone in its entirety.
Right.
There's a small part of the soil absorption system, or SAS, that is within that portion of the buffer
Got it.
zone, yes. So, design-wise, this is the best we could do with the area we had to work with.
I understand that, it's just,
Can you determine, without jumping through hoops with boards that have already given you permission, I mean, maybe talk to the health agent or talk to other engineer, if those two absorption system were made more square than rectangular and headed a little bit,
So we did
More
have,
west.
so the health agent did review this.
Yeah.
And approved it or cleared it until it comes to him. The final design will come to him. This is a concept at this point.
Right.
The system is designed, but the specifics will go to the health agent for Board of Health review at the appropriate time.
okay. No, I was just saying.
Could it be shaped differently?
That's what I'm
Probably.
thinking.
I mean, I don't have the definitive answer for you, but size-wise, this is what it needs to be. Shape-wise, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a lot of room between the rectangles and unit 43.
Right.
So if that could be the same square footage of the absorption reserve were to be outside of the 100, more square than rectangular, you're still not as close to 43 as you already are to 42. So maybe, I don't know if that's something that could be looked at without
Sure.
Or-
opening up a new can of worms.
it's
Or
just
even having them more oriented east and west.
Right, like this one down here, sort of
Yep.
along the property line is oriented differently. I'm just not sure if we were trying to maximize the existing grades. If we turn it, I just don't know if that's going to be more of an impact with more grading and more material moving, more site work. So I'd have to.
But then it's
just
gonna be
sort of-
covered up anyway, right?
Right, but it would just might be more of an impact
It's just a groundwater issue.
footprint way.
Really, I think, you know.
Well, if we're turning it, it's the same
What's
thing.
that?
If we're
Well, if you say
rotating
if
it.
If you can turn it and put 100 feet away, then at least you're 30, 35 feet farther away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And based on the,
You're well within 150 feet from the well. I mean, that's a good couple hundred feet from the well. At least the well over here by number 45 anyway. So, I mean, the other well's way over here, so that's far enough away, so.
the terrain gradients are pretty far away in that area. There's not a big grade. If you were to turn it 90 degrees. So I don't know, do we want to see if, I don't want to open up a can of worms with all the permitting authorities. Is there any-
Yeah, I mean, perhaps,
It's just a concern.
perhaps a condition to look into it a bit
Okay.
further and come and, report back to the, or send something through
I
Gary
can
to
work
the.
with Kevin on it.
Why don't we
Health
do that?
agent.
Why don't we?
Well,
why don't we-
regarding that, when he sees a yay from us, he's not gonna know what degree of yay. He's just gonna.
Well, the
so-
order of
and that'll play a
conditions would
role
say-
in- And that'll play a role in his decision.
I can put in special conditions that, whatever condition you want, as long as it's legal and reasonable.
I would
I had
say
to say
that.
Reasonable.
No, I think
I can, on behalf of the applicant, I'm sure he would be fine with us having this discussion with the health agent and just sort of
right.
sussing out if we can, work with this footprint and get it outside of the, I mean, if there's a condition to that effect, we will talk to him about it.
Right, I think the condition would be something to the, something along the lines of the possible reconfiguration of the absorption systems between units 42 and 43 to get them out of the 100-foot buffer zone.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would be a condition, and it's just, possible reconfiguration. And if they come back and say, no, it has to be this way, then I think that that's, what it is.
Okay, are you, okay.
And,
That-
yeah,
I
and,
can, I can.
yeah,
I
and
can
2
put
out of
that.
3 phases is not
Are you
bad too.
okay with that?
Right.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have the professional engineer provide a summary or a letter for the file as well, if that's helpful, one way or the other.
Okay, so at this point, I will take I will accept a motion to close the hearing. Is there anybody? No. Is there any, I'll take a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close.
All right,
Second.
Second. It's been moved by Dave, seconded by Dan, to close the hearing on 0 South Meadow Road, AOOC DEP file, SE126553, amended order of conditions. So I will accept a motion to approve the amended order of conditions with the additional condition as discussed with the conservation agent. Motion?
So moved.
And second.
Second? All right. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the amended order of conditions with the new condition as indicated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? It's approved.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right. Don't go away.
I'm going to move out of the hot seat.
Okay. Let me just do the paperwork here.
I need you to sign this. This is the plan of
Yes.
record. Anywhere right there, I'll put their signatures there.
This is the one I just signed. right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, under topics not reasonably anticipated by the chairman 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda, just a quick update on the property on Wade Street that is currently owned by the Redevelopment Authority. As we've been made aware, there were some structures that were on that property that were placed there in error by the abutting neighbor, the Boulay family. The redevelopment authority had the family come in, a family member come in. We discussed all the issues with them. And we gave them until June 30th to remove the structures. We went out on a site visit as well and saw other things that had to be done. The Boulets contacted the redevelopment authority, and the person they've contracted to move the barn and the other things, because of the wet weather, has had to delay it until the week of July 3rd. So they expect everything to be out of the RDA's property by the, I guess would be the 10th of July, that Monday. So at that point, it will go back to the RDA. The RDA's next meeting is August 1st. So we'll go to the RDA. We're going to do probably a site visit to make sure everything's the way it should be. When I say we, I'm talking about the RDA, because I'm on both. And then at that point, the RDA will most likely vote to present to conservation to take the land. So I would think that probably sometime in August, this transfer will be able to take place, assuming that it's all what we still want. So that's just the update on that. So it's a little bit delayed, but not by much, by about 2 weeks in what we'd asked them to do. And it's really weather and dampness related. They just can't get stuff down in the back. They're moving the barn to the other side of the property, and they're moving their driveway to the other side of the property.
All the way over.
All the way other to the, I guess would be the south side. There is still an outstanding possible issue regarding an Eversource phone pole, which is at the end of the cul-de-sac. They have an electrical hookup that goes down the pole and then underground to their barn. We're not sure yet what they're going to do with that. We need to reach out to them and ask them. They're moving the barn quite a bit, so I don't know if their plan is to add more conduit and send the existing line longer into the barn, or to run the line from another location down their new driveway. I need to find out that answer, but if it's easier for them to keep the conduit where it is, running underneath the RDA property, I don't see much of an issue with that. I mean, it's not an overhead power line, it's not poles, it's buried. So I don't know what their plan is about that.
But legally, is that, like, what would the?
It would be an easement. It would be
An easement that would have to be worked out.
yes, and it would just be an electrical easement, and that, I believe, is the closest pole, the closest Eversource source for power to their house, and they would have to run off that pole probably anyway, regardless of which direction they went in. So, but that's an answer that the RDA will have by their August 1st meeting. But other than that, everything else, assuming everything else is cleaned up, all the piles, all of the metal and the aerosol cans,
Pile and everything.
the burn pile, the aerosol cans.
Yeah.
So there is no easement as of now, right? They just dumped that thing, I guess.
Well, there's no easement at all. I mean, there's nothing for the barn, there's nothing for their road, there's nothing for everything that's out in the back. So, no, there's nothing. But the electrical is something that really wasn't addressed at the get-go, but will have to be looked at, and I don't think it's a deal breaker. So, okay.
What about the fence along the back? Was that anything that was being addressed or anything, or is it just gonna stay where it is anyway? Wasn't there?
Is that an old wood fence or something like that?
Wasn't there? I'm trying to remember now. There was a fence back there, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
there was behind, yes.
Is that staying right where is that? That's where it's supposed to be, or I can't remember now.
I'll have to look at the letter that was sent. I don't recall
Yeah.
exactly what we had asked them to do. We will probably do another site visit before,
before,
you know,
yeah.
before we, before Concom takes
So I thought you
possession.
said that our property kind of went a little bit beyond that.
Yes.
So I didn't know if the fence was gonna get moved or if it was staying where it was, or,
I don't recall exactly what the letter said. I read it once, I think, but I know it was addressed. All right, minutes. May 17th minutes. Has everyone had a chance to read them? Thanks, Sarah. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 17th.
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Motion by Dave, seconded by Curtis. All those in favor say aye.
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 One abstention.
Oh, you weren't here. All right, so the vote is 3-0-1 on that. Motion to adjourn.
One more thing, you said,
Oh.
Gary, about visiting the Cole property tomorrow? Is that open? Is that tomorrow,
Yeah, 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock?
That's his show. You going?
Yeah.
I'll show up, 1 o'clock. Walk in the woods. Yeah, be nice. That's all.
If anybody's interested, I got the 2022 State of Buzzards Bay little pamphlet, if anybody's interested to look at it. Bay's actually doing pretty good.
Is there anything in there about Lakeview Street?
No.
It's a Buzzard
I
Bay.
looked in there, well, I didn't see anything.
No.
I saw people out there the other day with brush cutters and,
I've been out there the past 6 months doing stuff,
yeah,
like, 'cause I can see them from my house,
right.
but, that, they put signs up, they cut trails, you know, and the
Yeah.
trails are marked, and, I don't know.
Okay.
'Cause I go walk back there.
I saw them out there probably doing the trails, you know,
Yeah.
clearing the
They said
recent
they're gonna put
recent
that
growth.
parking lot over there, 58, about the fire station. kinda.
Yep,
But I don't know, they haven't done anything over there.
okay. I'll take one of those. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were putting them away. Thank you. Okay.
Hand that down, please. Thank you.
I already said-
All right, great. All right, so it's been moved and seconded to adjourn? No? All right,
So moved.
second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn. Thank you, Ashley. Being on top of everything. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We're out. Thank you, Area 58.